Hey wonderful people, welcome to DA Tales. Today's story is about a wealthy mother offering her daughter $1 million to divorce her husband, and ends with him calmly handing over evidence that blows up 2 marriages, exposes 35 years of lies, and destroys an entire family in just a matter of days. Let's get into it. I, 32 male, work as a financial analyst for a mid-sized consulting firm. Nothing fancy, but I make a comfortable living, around $95,000 a year. My wife, 30, comes from money, old money. Her dad built a commercial real estate empire worth somewhere in the 8 figures, and her mom has never worked a day in her life. Her mom has hated me since day one. I wasn't good enough, didn't come from the right family, didn't go to an Ivy League school. My crime? Being middle class and loving her daughter anyway. We've been married 5 years, together for 7. Her mom has made those years interesting. Backhanded compliments at every holiday. "Oh, you're still driving that Honda? How practical." Comments about how her daughter could have done better. Once she actually said at Thanksgiving dinner that she'd hoped her daughter would marry someone with more ambition. I let it slide. My wife would apologize, say her mom was just like that, and I'd move on because I loved her, or thought I did. 3 weeks ago, everything changed. I came home early from work, meeting got canceled. Walked into our apartment and heard voices in the living room. My wife and her mom, talking. I was about to announce myself when I heard the number. $1 million. Cash. In your account by Friday if you file for divorce this week. I froze in the hallway. My mother-in-law's voice continued. "You've wasted 5 years on him. You're 30 now. Your window for finding someone appropriate is closing. I'm offering you a fresh start. Take the money, divorce him, and I'll introduce you to the Henderson boy. He just made partner at his father's firm." I waited for my wife to shut her down, to defend me, to tell her mother that our marriage wasn't for sale. Instead, I heard, "Mom, I don't know. That's a lot to think about." What's there to think about? He makes 90-something thousand a year. I'm offering you more than 10 years of his salary to walk away. You'd be stupid not to take it. Silence. Long silence. Then my wife's voice, quiet but clear. "I'll take it." My mother-in-law actually laughed. "Finally, I knew you'd come to your senses." I stepped into the living room. Both of them went white. "Hey honey," I said calmly. "Hi mom." I always called her mom, just to annoy her. "Don't mind me, just came home early. Meeting canceled." My wife started stammering. You didn't hear, we were just talking hypothetically." Hypothetically about divorcing me for $1 million? Interesting hypothetical. My mother-in-law recovered faster than my wife. She actually sat up straighter, like she was proud. "Yes, I offered her money to leave you, and she accepted. You should be grateful. At least now you know where you stand." I looked at my wife. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Is that true?" I asked. "You're taking the money?" She finally looked up, something defiant in her expression now. "Maybe I am. Maybe mom's right. Maybe I have been settling." That word, settling. 5 years of my life, and I was something she'd been settling for. I didn't cry, didn't yell, just nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "If that's your decision, I respect it." My mother-in-law looked surprised. She'd expected drama, I think, begging. Instead, I walked to our bedroom, pulled out a manila envelope from my nightstand drawer, and walked back out. "Before you finalize anything," I said, "I think your father deserves to see this." I handed the envelope to my wife. She opened it, confused. Inside were DNA test results and a letter. "See, about 8 months ago, my father-in-law asked me for a favor. He was updating his will and wanted to include some genetic health information for his descendants. He's got a family history of heart disease. He asked if I could help him understand how to get one of those ancestry DNA tests done. I helped him set it up. He did the test. Results came back. He wasn't my wife's biological father." My father-in-law called me, confused and devastated, asked me what it meant. I explained that according to the DNA, they shared no genetic markers. He broke down on the phone. I told him I'd look into it quietly. Maybe there was an error. Maybe something got mixed up. I'm a financial analyst. I'm good at digging. I pulled records. I made some calls. And I found out that around the time my wife was conceived, my mother-in-law had a months-long affair with her tennis instructor. The timeline matched perfectly. I sat on this information for 8 months. I didn't tell my father-in-law what I found because I wasn't sure what to do with it. I didn't want to blow up a family. I didn't want to hurt him more. But now? Now my wife had just agreed to take $1 million to abandon our marriage. Now her mother sat in my living room, smug and victorious. Now felt like the right time. My wife read the letter. Her face went through about 17 emotions in 10 seconds. "What is this?" she whispered. "DNA results showing your dad isn't your biological father. And my research into who probably is. You should ask your mom about her tennis instructor from 31 years ago." My mother-in-law grabbed the papers, read them, went absolutely pale. "This is fake. This is some kind of trick." "It's not. Your husband took the test himself. Those are his actual results. I've been sitting on this because I didn't want to hurt anyone. But you know what? You've spent 5 years treating me like garbage. Your daughter just sold our marriage for a check. So I think it's time your husband knows what kind of woman he's been married to for 35 years. My mother-in-law stood up. "You wouldn't dare." "Already done." I emailed him copies 2 minutes before I walked into this room. Check his phone. Right on cue, we all heard a car pulling up outside. Fast. Door slamming. My father-in-law burst through our front door, face red, hands shaking, holding his phone. "Is it true?" he demanded, looking at his wife. "Is it true?" What followed was the most spectacular implosion of a family I've ever witnessed, and I had a front row seat. Update 1 week later. So that went viral faster than I expected. Here's what happened after my last post. The confrontation in our living room lasted about 2 hours. My father-in-law demanded answers. My mother-in-law tried every trick in the book: denial, deflection, crying, claiming the tests were rigged, accusing me of fabricating evidence. But here's the thing about DNA. It doesn't lie. And here's the thing about my father-in-law. He's a businessman who built an empire on facts and numbers. He wasn't buying the emotional manipulation. 35 years, he kept saying. 35 years I thought she was mine. My wife tried to play peacemaker. "Dad, can we just calm down and talk about this rationally?" "Rationally?" He turned on her. "You were going to take $1 million to divorce your husband. Your mother's been lying to me for 3.5 decades. And you want rational?" My mother-in-law made a critical error. She went on the attack. "So what if I had an affair? You were always working. You neglected me, and that man, he actually paid attention to me." "So you admit it?" She realized her mistake too late. That's not what I meant. You just admitted it. In front of witnesses." He looked at me. "You recorded this, didn't you?" I held up my phone. "I'm not stupid." My father-in-law walked out, didn't say goodbye to his wife or daughter, just left. My wife turned on me. "How could you do this? You destroyed my family. Your mother offered you money to leave me. You said yes. Your mother lied to your father for 35 years. I just told the truth. If that destroyed your family, maybe your family was built on a pretty shaky foundation. I was never actually going to take the money. You said, 'I'll take it.' I heard you, clear as day. I was exploring options, and now I'm exploring mine. I want a divorce." She blinked. "What? No. You can't divorce me. I was supposed to divorce you. The entitlement. My God, the entitlement. Pretty sure it works both ways. I'll have my lawyer contact yours. You should probably stay with your mom tonight, or what's left of that arrangement." She started crying then. Not sad crying, angry crying. This isn't how this was supposed to go. Life's funny like that. I spent that night alone in our apartment. Slept better than I had in months, honestly. The weight of that secret had been crushing me. The next few days were chaos. My father-in-law filed for divorce. After 35 years, he was done. Apparently, he'd been having doubts for years, but never had proof. Now he did. My mother-in-law tried to contest it, claimed the DNA evidence was illegally obtained. Her lawyer told her that wasn't how it worked. My father-in-law had taken the test voluntarily, and the results were his to share. My wife bombarded me with texts. First angry, "You ruined everything." Then sad, "Please can we talk?" Then manipulative, "Don't you remember how good we were together?" Then threatening, "I'll tell everyone you're abusive." That last one? Yeah, that's when I got a lawyer and stopped responding entirely. By day 3, my mother-in-law was in full damage control mode. She showed up at my office. Security called up. "There's a woman here saying she's your mother-in-law. She's..." Pretty insistent. I went down, found her in the lobby, dressed to the nines, like she was attending a charity gala instead of confronting the man who'd just exposed her decades-long deception. "We need to talk," she said, privately. "I don't think that's a good idea. I'll make it worth your while." I actually laughed. "Are you trying to bribe me now? That's your move? Everyone has a price, name yours, to make this all go away." "Lady, you couldn't afford my price. Try me." "Okay, time machine. Go back and not be a terrible person. Think you can swing that?" She went red. "You think you're so clever. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm dealing with a woman who cheated on her husband, lied about the paternity of her child for 3 decades, and tried to bribe her daughter into divorcing a man who did nothing wrong. Did I miss anything?" She stepped closer, voice low. "I will destroy you. I have connections you can't even imagine." "Cool. Looking forward to it. Now please leave before I have security escort you out. This conversation is definitely being recorded by built-in cameras, by the way." She left, but not before throwing one more threat over her shoulder. This isn't over. It was very much just beginning. Update 2. 3 weeks later. Okay, so things escalated dramatically. Buckle up. First, the divorce proceedings. My lawyer is fantastic. Found her through a colleague who went through a messy split. She laid out my situation pretty clearly. Your wife brought virtually no assets into the marriage. You've been the primary earner. The apartment lease is in your name only. She has no legal claim to most of what you own. The complicating factor is the length of marriage. 5 years is enough that she could argue for some spousal support. How much are we talking? Depends on the judge. Could be minimal, could be a year or 2 of partial support while she gets on her feet. But given the circumstances, her agreeing to take money to divorce you, which you have recorded, I think we can argue bad faith and minimize any payout. Fine, I can live with that. But my wife and mother-in-law weren't going quietly. Week 2, I got served with a restraining order request. My wife claimed I had been emotionally abusive and controlling, and that she feared for her safety. My lawyer was livid. This is a standard play. Claim abuse, get the upper hand in divorce proceedings. Do you have any witnesses to your relationship? Anyone who can testify you weren't abusive? I had plenty. Friends, co-workers who'd met her at company events. Her own sister, actually, who'd always liked me and was apparently furious at how this was all playing out. The restraining order hearing was a joke. My wife showed up looking like a frightened rabbit, speaking in a soft voice about how intimidated she always felt around me. Then my lawyer presented evidence. Texts between us showing normal, healthy communication. Photos from vacations where we looked happy. And the recording of the $1 million offer conversation where my wife's voice was anything but frightened. The judge denied the restraining order. Actually said from the bench, "This appears to be an attempt to gain leverage in divorce proceedings rather than a genuine safety concern." My wife's lawyer looked embarrassed. My wife looked furious, but the real fireworks were happening on the other side of the family. My father-in-law's divorce from my mother-in-law was getting ugly. 35 years of marriage, significant assets, and now paternity fraud in the mix. His lawyer was arguing that the entire marriage was built on a lie, that my mother-in-law had deceived him into raising a child that wasn't his, which constituted fraud. In some states, this can actually affect divorce settlements. My mother-in-law's response? She went nuclear. She started telling everyone who would listen that my father-in-law was the villain, that he was a cold, neglectful husband who drove her to seek comfort elsewhere, that he was now abandoning his family over ancient history. She conveniently left out the part where she'd spent 35 years lying about paternity, and the part where she tried to bribe her daughter into divorcing me, and, everything else. But here's where karma started to really kick in. My father-in-law had his lawyer subpoena financial records. Turns out, my mother-in-law had been skimming money for years. Nothing huge, maybe $20,000-$30,000 here and there, but into a separate account she'd never disclosed. She'd been building her own little nest egg, probably planning an exit strategy that she never executed. This was a big deal legally. Hidden assets in a divorce? Judges hate that. It tanks your credibility and can seriously affect how assets get divided. But the real kicker came from an unexpected source. The tennis instructor. Yeah, he was still alive. 70s now, retired, living off a modest pension. My father-in-law's lawyer tracked him down and got a deposition. The man confirmed the affair, confirmed the timeline, and dropped a bomb nobody expected. My mother-in-law had contacted him 15 years ago, asking for money to keep quiet about their history. She'd been blackmailing him on and off for a decade and a half, $30,000 total over the years. That's where some of her hidden money came from. My father-in-law was devastated. Not just that his wife had cheated, not just that his daughter wasn't biologically his, but that she'd been running schemes and lies for their entire marriage. I never really knew her, he told me during one of our conversations. We'd actually gotten closer through all this. Strange how things work out. 35 years, and I was married to a stranger. Meanwhile, my wife was spiraling. Without her mom's money, that $1 million offer evaporated real quick once the divorce started. Without my income, without the life she'd grown accustomed to, she was stuck. She'd been a part-time interior design consultant, which really meant she occasionally helped her mom's rich friends pick out throw pillows. That income wasn't going to sustain her lifestyle. She tried crawling back. Showed up at the apartment one evening, tear-streaked and apologetic. I made a mistake. I should never have listened to my mom. Can't we work this out? You agreed to divorce me for money. You said I was something you were settling for. I didn't mean it. I was confused. My mom was in my ear. And your mom can't make you say things you don't mean. You meant it. You just didn't expect consequences. Please, I have nowhere to go. You have your mom's place. Or your dad's. Or literally anywhere else. This isn't my problem anymore. I'll tell everyone you forced me out. Go ahead. I have recordings, witnesses, and a paper trail. Who do you think people are going to believe? She left, but not without throwing a vase at the wall. Thankfully, it was her vase. I documented the damage anyway. Final update, 6 weeks later. Divorce is finalized, both of them. Here's where everyone ended up. My father-in-law. His divorce from my mother-in-law was brutal but decisive. Given the fraud, hidden assets, the blackmail scheme, the paternity lie, the judge ruled heavily in his favor. My mother-in-law got a settlement, but way less than she would have gotten in a standard divorce. About 30% of what she'd expected, according to what I heard. He's doing okay. Sold the big house they'd shared, bought something smaller. We actually grab lunch once a month now. He told me he doesn't blame me for exposing the truth, said he wishes he'd known decades ago. You gave me the hardest gift anyone's ever given me, he said. The truth. I hate it, but I needed it. He's also in therapy, working through the realization that his whole marriage was built on sand. It's going to take time. Here's the complicated part. He still loves my wife, not biologically his daughter, but he raised her. 30 years of memories don't disappear because of DNA. They're working on their relationship. It's strained. She's angry at him for abandoning her mother. Delusion runs deep in that family. He's hurt that she chose money over her marriage. But there's something there worth saving. Maybe. My mother-in-law. Living in a condo now instead of the mansion she was used to. Still has money. The settlement wasn't nothing, but her lifestyle took a massive hit. From what I hear, she's still telling anyone who'll listen that she's the victim in all this. That her husband overreacted to one mistake. That I manipulated everyone with fake evidence. Nobody's really buying it. Her social circle has quietly dropped her. Turns out rich people don't love associating with someone whose dirty laundry got aired so publicly. The tennis instructor situation came out in the divorce proceedings, which became somewhat public. Hard to play the victim when there's a paper trail of you blackmailing your former affair partner. She tried to contact me once after everything was finalized. Left a voicemail. I hope you're happy. You destroyed a family. You'll pay for this someday. I saved it. Just in case. My ex-wife. This is the part people keep asking about. Our divorce was relatively clean compared to her parents. Short marriage, no kids, clear paper trail of her agreeing to take money to leave. The judge granted the divorce with minimal spousal support, 6 months, reduced amount, just enough to help her transition. She's living with a friend now. Her design business hasn't exactly taken off. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, she's talking about going back to school for something more practical. She still blames me for everything, refuses to acknowledge that she made choices that led here. In her version of events, I'm the villain who weaponized information to destroy her family. Some people will never see themselves clearly. She's one of them. The $1 million offer, by the way, her mother never would have paid it. It was a manipulation tactic. My mother-in-law had maybe $200,000 in her secret account, most of which went to legal fees. The $1 million was always a lie, dangled to get my wife to make a choice. And my wife fell for it. Me, I'm okay, not great, not terrible, just okay. The apartment feels bigger now, quieter. I kept most of the furniture since I'd paid for it. Changed a few things around to make it feel less like ours and more like mine. My friends have been solid. My family's been supportive, though my mom keeps trying to set me up with her coworker's daughter. She's lovely, very stable. Mom, I just got divorced. Give me a minute. Work's fine. Nobody there really knew the full story, and I prefer it that way. Just showed up, did my job, went home. Am I happy? Honestly, I don't know yet. There's relief. No more mother-in-law from hell. No more pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. But there's also loss. 5 years is a long time. Even if the ending was garbage, there were good moments in there somewhere. My therapist says it's normal to grieve even when the relationship needed to end. I'm working on believing that. Do I regret exposing the DNA stuff? No. Maybe it was nuclear. Maybe it caused a lot of pain. But the lies had already caused pain, just quiet, hidden pain that festered for decades. I ripped the bandage off. It hurt like hell, but at least now everyone's dealing with reality instead of fiction. My father-in-law thanked me again last week, said knowing the truth was better than living a comfortable lie. I think he's right. To everyone asking if I feel bad for what happened, I feel bad for my father-in-law, who genuinely didn't deserve any of this. I feel bad for myself, honestly, for wasting 5 years on someone who saw me as a settlement. But my mother-in-law, my ex-wife, they made their choices. They valued money over relationships. They built lives on lies and manipulation. They thought they could treat people like garbage without consequences. They were wrong. That's not revenge. That's just reality catching up. Thanks for following this mess. I'm gonna log off for a while, get my head straight. Maybe actually take my mom up on meeting that coworker's daughter. Just kidding. Way too soon for that. But eventually I'll